Hi, my name is coverkillernation, and by the end of this video, I'm going to ruin your expectations. Now, if you expected me to rage for this video, expectations ruined. If you expected me to call this the greatest album of all time, expectations ruined. And the rest of you in the middle, well, just stay with me. I'm sure we'll get to something. Happens every other video. We need to talk about this disc, though, because it's disturbed. Not because it's disturbed, but because it's disturbed calling an album an evolution. The album's name is Evolution, and they also say that their sound has evolved with this disc. And of course, that's a very curious thing for somebody like me, considering whenever I talk about a lot of albums from modern metal acts, either that or radio metal acts, there's a lot of talk that comes about the material and then it never follows through. So there's an expectation of mine that is always kind of let down. And this is a very big teeter-totter of emotion. It's also a very big risk, considering you calling this an evolution, meaning that everyone is going to have different expectations as to what that is, and none of them are going to probably be happy in the end. Either that, or it's going to cause a lot of what I'm expecting from this album: extreme reactions, greatest of all time, worst of all time, really not a lot of in between. Let's talk about the album a little bit. Let's talk about it sort of track by track, or at least in a general sense. The very first track is "Are You Ready?", which we already know about this song, considering it was a single. It was released beforehand, and we knew what to expect from it. So we knew what to expect from a Disturbed song. At least we thought we did. This song, though, does follow the formula. It's up-tempo, but it does have a little bit of a more tempered meter to it. This is not one that has quite the same level of extreme that you would receive from a traditional Disturbed single. And it almost feels, though, like this was a song that had to be written in order to fulfill some sort of obligation. Like, you need to have a song that is in this style, or that is a singles ready, that's going to promote this album, that's going to, bring people into the stores and want to get your record. That way there's something to promote it with. And I say that because Are You Ready, first of all, as a song is just alright. It's not all of that great. But whenever you look at the remainder of the material on this album, it feels weird. It feels strange. And it sets up a trend that we will revisit a little bit later. This does not feel right. And immediately, the whole idea of evolution is kind of tossed out the window a little bit because this sounds the same. So we're already starting off on a really bad foot. But then going into the next few tracks, such as No More, A Reason to Fight, In Another Time, and Stronger on Your Own, we're starting to see a lot of messages of affirmation, a lot of strength, and also a little bit of melancholy tossed in throughout. So this is a very reflective style or sound for Disturbed, instead of it being one that is 100% all about battling inner demons and coming out on top and trying to really reaffirm individuals. This is one that feels a little bit more pensive. It feels a little bit more unknown, or a little bit scared even, that there's a lot of things that now need to be combated with, and now that is not as, the confidence level is not quite as present. And this vulnerability is actually quite nice because it goes along with evolution musically, which is shown on this opening cavalcade of tracks as well. We have a lot more in the vein of a softer electric acoustic guitar, or just an acoustic in some locations. We have some compositional differences. We're not sticking with that aggressive key and aggressive timing. Instead, we're kind of varying things up a little bit. And the band said that they were thinking a lot about some of the friends that they had lost over the past couple of years, such as Vinnie Paul or Chester Bennington, and that they were also listening to a lot of old classic rock records. We know that they like classic rock, considering some of the covers that they've done. So does it make sense that they have kind of gone a little bit in this direction, that they've sort of headed a little bit more toward the sound of their cover of Land of Confusion, as opposed to sticking with their traditional timbre or trying to move that in a different direction? I don't think that's much of a surprise, but it is kind of a nice thing to hear. And the thing that a lot of folks aren't going to like, or why they expect the whole rage-filled video, is the fact that these could be transitional hits. They could go to a conventional rock station as opposed to just an alternative station, and then you get to a track such as Hold On to Memories, which actually feels like it could be another transitional hit from alternative to rock radio stations, and then even to the more popular radio stations as well, the ones that are playing pop or country or even some rap tracks. You know, this is one that could enter into the culture, considering the message that's behind it very much supports that whole deliverance that they have going on over there. And then the actual makeup of this feels like it's well within the key, well within the realm. It kind of is right there on the stratosphere, just waiting to say, here, you know, come and do what you will with me. And of course they had a little bit of acclaim and a little bit of crossover success with The Sound of Silence off of their last album. So does it make sense that they go for that again? I think so. I think it does make sense. And whenever you are already making your sound go a little bit different in a different direction, then you kind of just gravitate towards something that's a little bit familiar. And that's very familiar at this stage. Then this album, we've been pretty positive about this album thus far, and I don't look into it very greatly, because right now, after 6 tracks, this is about a 20 out of 30, which might surprise you by itself, but the second half of this album completely falls off a cliff, and nearly destroys the entirety of the idea that was presented with the first 6 tracks. The next 3 songs are just very, very typical, very algorithmic Disturbed tracks. Not a lot of actual evolution laced within this. They did not go full tilt boogie with this idea, and you know how much I get really bothered whenever bands say they went and did something, and then you listen to it and it doesn't sound like it happened. The constant disappointment. Perhaps, once again, that's a problem of my own personal expectations. But these 3 songs, Savior of Nothing, Watch You Burn, and The Best Ones Lie, they strike me as basically Disturbed 1.0, Disturbed Light, Disturbed, 0 calories. These are empty songs that immediately try to recapture some of the energy that they had on a track such as Are You Ready? Only at this point in time, that's not the energy that's necessary for this album. That's not the energy that's needed. Instead, we are already on the train to this new evolved sound, this more vulnerable Disturbed, and trying to go back. And it's almost like putting up a wall whenever you're finally starting to showcase yourself, or finally starting to express all of those things that you maybe feel on the inside, And the best way that I could also think of it is think of the stock market. Think of how that's been going up and down lately. This is like having a nice little gainer in the morning, and then whoop, it just tanks in the afternoon. But there is a silver lining. That silver lining is already gone. The very final cutoff of this disc shows why David Draymond's voice is sometimes praised by conventional wisdom, and that's the fact that he does have a decent rock voice, and it's one that fits on songs specifically like this. This is a ballady-like track, and I'm really not too sure who the she is in this song. I'm not sure if it's meant to really mean anybody in particular. I'm not sure if it's meant to be Jonathan Davis's wife, or Jill Janis from Huntress, or anything like that, because there's a lot of talk about death here. There's a lot of talk about loss, and of course they've been thinking a lot about those who they had been friends with that they had lost in the last couple of years. So this feels like it has a real personal feeling to it and a real personal connection to it, and you can even hear the vulnerability in David's voice, and it does not feel like it's fabricated or edited later in some sort of magic production trick. This feels genuine, and as a result, it leaves you with a better feeling about the album right there at the end. The last song is very well done. I will give Already Gone a lot of praise. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, what about the 4 other tracks? What about The Sound of Silence with Miles Kennedy? What about Are You Ready, the remix, and This Venom, and then the other one? I don't care. I'll be honest, 10 songs is enough. And I'll be honest with you, I almost didn't make it through 10. I really didn't. 7, 8, and 9, that 12-minute long stretch, that was hell. That was really hard to get through, because I saw a band that was going forward with a direction, and it seemed like it was going well, and then just destroyed all their own momentum. And it was really hard to listen to, and I just shook my head most of this time as I kind of grit my teeth and made my way through it. But this still could mean good things for Disturbed. I mean, let's be real here. This isn't the new Godsmack album from this year. That was abysmal. That was a mistake. That shouldn't have happened. This is why abortion's legal. But this is also a band that could take this new sound a little bit further in its acknowledgement of who they are. They understand that they are 20 years into this game as rock/metal musicians. They understand that they are in their 40s and that in order to maintain themselves, they can't do and pull the same trick twice, 3 times, 7 times, whatever. They do have to change things up a little bit. Maybe this is an album that they did solely for themselves, and it will be reflected as that whenever their career comes to an end. But either way, it comes across very jilted. It comes across very uneven, and as a result, it comes across as very imbalanced. This is a disc that is a 16 out of 30. It's average. That's all it is. It's just an average album. It's not the greatest album of all time because they decided to do something a little different, and they were already the greatest band, and that just makes them better. Great logic, but no. But it's also not the worst album of all time. I don't even know if it's the worst album in their discography. It's just a disc that is extremely uneven, that's painted with some very good brush strokes, some new brush strokes that they didn't have in their arsenal, or at least didn't show in their arsenal as often beforehand. But now they also kind of fell victim to some of their old tropes. But I don't know what you think, or what you thought about Evolution by Disturbed. Let me know in the comments below. My name is coverkillernation, and how did I destroy your expectations today? Let me know in the comments as well. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.